Good morning and welcome to Foxanne's Follies. The main purpose of today's video is to correct a couple of mistakes I made in the last one. So let's go out to the car and I'll show you what I mean. Right, you'll remember the problem I had when I was trying to fit the new wheels before was that at least on the front the studs didn't appear to be long enough for the nuts to go on enough turns. I figured that on 3/8 UNF studs the nuts need to go on at least 9 turns because 3/8 UNF is I believe it's 24 threads per inch, so 3/8 of an inch, an eighth of 24 is 3, so 3 times 3 is 9, so it should go on 9 threads to be at least threaded on as much as the diameter of the stud. But anyway, I found that these didn't seem to be going on more than about 3 or 4, maybe 5 threads. But I've now got the correct wheel nuts, and I'll show you the difference between the correct nuts and the wrong ones. So the correct nuts are on there now because I've now put the wheels on permanently. But what I'll do is I'll loosen one of these, take one of these off, and show you the difference between the two nuts. As you can see, there's quite a few turns there coming off. Right, okay, so there's the new nut, and as you can see, this is the 60-degree taper here. This is a ring that actually spins on the nut, and is actually there's actually a second taper inside that ring that centers it. But yeah, this is the bit that actually sits on the 60-degree taper, and then as you can see, there's like a nose that comes forward from that, and the threads start a good 5mm further into the hole there than where the seat is. Whereas on the old nut, on the wrong nut here, as you can see, here's the 60-degree taper seat here, and there's nothing else protruding further in. And in fact, the thread doesn't start for about another 3mm inside the nut. So the thread starts somewhere around here, actually sort of halfway down the taper, rather than another 5mm in from where the taper is. So so the old nut, if I put it on there, I'll put it on so it's just about catching on the thread. Right, it's just catching on the thread there, and we'll see how many turns it goes on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 turns. So that's 6 turns, and it's all the other 3 nuts are tight, so the wheel is properly seated down on the hub. And that's just 6 turns on the thread. So that's not enough. You need at least 9 turns before it seats down for this to be a suitable nut. So again, I'll do that with the new nut. As you can see, that goes straight on the thread there. I'll just get it so that it's sitting just catching on the thread there. We'll see how many turns that goes on. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, nearly 12, 11 3/4. So yeah, 12 turns would be a full ½ inch of thread. So that's pretty good. That I would say is plenty of thread, and that makes the wheel perfectly safely bolted on. So that's that situation fixed. Now all I have to do is re-torque that nut again. I'll do that with my torque wrench in a minute. These nuts are actually quite torque specific. There's a very low torque on these. It's only 50 Newton meters, which is about 36 pounds-feet. The reason for that, I think, is because they've got the additional sliding ring on there. You actually don't get a whole lot of friction when you tighten these up. So any more than about 50 Newton meters, and you're actually putting too much strain on the thread and on the aluminium casting of the wheel, of course, because cast aluminium wheels can crack if you put too much strain on the on the seating of the nuts. So yeah, so that's one problem solved. So that's one mistake I made last week, was getting the wrong nuts, and that problem's been solved simply by buying a set of the correct nuts, which now thread fully on to the studs and give a nice safe mounting for the wheels. The other mistake I made was in measuring the circumference of the wheels in order to work out the speedo error. So let's get on with that. Right, so the second mistake I made was in measuring the circumference of the tyres. Now, what I was aiming to do, I wanted to measure the actual circumference of the tyres to compare the old tyres to the new tyres in order to work out what the speedo error would be when fitting smaller tyres. So yep, okay, I got the wheel off and I measured the tyre circumference with the tape measure, but I made a schoolboy error. What I did was I put the tape measure approximately around the middle of the tyre like this, and I read it off from here, but on this tape measure it says 70 or 700 millimeters, 70 centimeters, and so I read 70, and then it was about 8 millimeters more, so I read 708 millimeters. But of course what I didn't take into account is it was 1 meter 708 millimeters, because I didn't read the tape measure properly, which is a pretty dumb error really, considering I should have known full well that the circumference of a car tyre can't be less than a meter. But anyway, so that's what I did wrong. So I measured this one at 708 millimeters when it was actually 1708, and I measured the new one at 600 millimeters when it was actually 1600. And I've actually corrected the 1708 to 1720 now as well, because I don't think I had the tape measure perfectly round the centre line of the tyre, so I measured it a little bit short. But anyway, I've recalculated now, and the error isn't anywhere near as much as I thought it was. It's only about it's actually only about 7.5% rather than the 15% I worked out before. So that means I'll only be doing the speedo will only be registering about 32 miles per hour when I'm doing 30, 43 miles per hour when I'm doing 40, and 54 miles per hour when I'm doing 50, and 65 miles per hour when I'm doing 60. So it's not a huge error. It's about the same error that you'd get on a new car anyway. Most modern cars read around 10% optimistic on the speedo anyway, just to fool us into driving more slowly for safety reasons, I think. But anyway, there's another issue with this wheel as well, which let me just roll up this tape measure and I shall show you. The reason why I've now decided I have to go to the new wheels and tyres is because I noticed on taking these wheels off that there's actually quite a lot of cracking perishing in between the threads on this tyre. It's quite serious cracking. It goes nearly all the way around between these two treads, and there's also some in this one as well. But all the tyres have got it. All four of them have got it, even though they're actually date coded. Where is the date code? There it is. I'll hold that up to the camera. They're date coded 3618, which means they were made in week 36 of 2018. So they're not old tyres. They're not even 5 years old, and that is that's the state of play with rubber goods these days. Anything you buy that's made of rubber these days seems to perish rather quickly. And these are not, they're not an unknown make. They're Nankangs, which is supposedly quite a good make, despite being Chinese. But there you go. They're hardly worn, but they're for the bin. And the new tyre that made the decision a hell of a lot easier, seeing that these tyres are actually not really in a roadworthy condition. So yeah, they're for the bin. New tyres are now on permanently, and yeah, take it from there. Right, and one more thing to add that came in the post in the last week is I've got these lovely little Reliant centre cap badges to go on the wheels. The centre caps at the moment have just got a plain letter C on them, which I assume stands for Cooper because they're Rover Mini Cooper wheels. But these are like stick-on gel raised badges with the Reliant logo on, which yeah, should make the wheels look a little bit more made for the car. So yeah, let's go outside and stick one of them on and see what it looks like. Now I've cleaned up the old centre cap. As you can see, it's still got the C on there, but that's not painted. That's kind of that's set into the plastic. It's like kind of moulded in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can stick this on and completely cover up the C. So I'll just get the camera a little bit closer so that I can get in there and you can still see. Right. So if we peel off this backing, it should be big enough to completely cover that C. Oops, there goes a bit of paper flying across the floor. I don't want that. Let's completely cover up the C there. That's it. It's not quite the same diameter as the full centre cap, but yeah. Let me just take the camera off and stand back a bit. How does that look? I don't know whether you can actually see the Reliant logo on there in this light. Might be able to. It's difficult to say. I can't see it on my little screen on the camera, but you may be able to see it. But yeah, that's better than having the C on there anyway, compared to what's on the rear one there. So yeah, I'll do that on all four, and then we've got Reliant logos on the centre caps. So it's another little job done. Couple of errors corrected. Wheels on with decent tyres that aren't perished or cracked. So here we are, back at my special spot for the after video. Just have a quick look around first, out across the fields. Sorry about the wind. Even with this microphone has got a windshield on it, but it's not that effective, I've noticed. So there will be a bit of wind noise. Catch those beautiful foxgloves there. And there is Foxanne, looking absolutely resplendent. Yes, a bit more sheltered here if I'm out of the way of the farm gate. Yeah, she looks fantastic on the new wheels. New wheels are on. New Reliant badged centre caps, and driving her up here, I didn't bother putting the camera on in the car because it's nothing. You certainly couldn't perceive any difference through the camera, but yeah, the slightly lower gearing does seem to give her a little more briskness through the gears. It may just be psychological, but yeah, and there's not that much difference in speedo reading. As I say, 30 is now 32 on the clock, so it's no biggie. If I cruise along at 30 on the clock, no one's really going to complain. But yeah, so that rounds it off rather nicely anyway. Foxanne's finally got her new wheels, the new nuts that fit, the new centre caps that finish them off rather nicely. I think in this light you might even be able to see the Reliant badge on the centre cap there. don't want to get too close because it will go out of focus on this little camera. Yeah, so that's it. So I'll call it a day on this one. Beautiful day that it is in this beautiful spot. Look at that. Look at that. Absolutely beautiful. And you wouldn't believe that I'm actually, I think this is actually less than 2 miles from my front door. And you know what it's like on my front driveway with the traffic roaring past. You wouldn't believe this was like just up the road and round the corner, and you can't even see a house from here. Splendid. Anyway, yeah, I'll round it up there and catch up with you the next time I do something to Foxanne. Bye now.